This week I learned never, ever decide to record your video right after a doctor's appointment. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as it's full speed ahead now on 2024, as I feel like I got all that 2023 stuff officially wrapped up and we can kind of move ahead. Sorry, this is a little later than I had planned to put it out, guys. It's something I haven't really talked about. I have something called lateral encondysitis of the elbow, which is, more commonly known as tennis elbow, which is weird because I've never played tennis a day in my life, but it's just kind of something that can kind of happen in your 40s, if you just kind of abuse your body for a while. But it's been really, really nagging at me for months now. Got to see a doctor yesterday. They gave me a cortisone shot and some nice painkillers. And here's the thing about me. I can drink beer all day. It never really phases me, but any kind of medication, I'm out for the count. So I thought I'll record my weekly update after I get back from that doctor's appointment. And dentist appointments are even worse. And I just kind of zapped out, and I never was able to get the mojo up to do this video. So hey, better late than never. But with that out of the way, guys, go ahead and talk about what am I reading. I have finished The Realm of the Eldlings, guys. Did finish Assassin's Fate middle of this week, and I think I already got some mixed signals out there, because I think what a lot of people were like, how are your feelings? And I said I feel like I did more sighing than crying. And what I mean by that is kind of like in a fatherly way, whereas you see Fitz dealing with like being a father in this trilogy, I kind of felt like a father just wanting to shake Fitz the whole time, because it very much does feel like your kid. You've watched this guy grow up, from, a very, very young kid to, this older fellow now. And it is one of those kind of things where you do almost kind of have like that parental kind of feelings towards Fitz. So no matter how, it's like that thing, like no matter how old your kids get, they're still your baby, that kind of thing. So I think that was really just me, because Fitz just always just makes the wrong decisions, it seems like. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't, reach for the Kleenex a little bit there towards the end. It was very, very sad, the last few pages. It is very much that feeling that I have with Wheel of Time, where it's like there isn't necessarily anything really super, super sad happening in this scene, but it's the end of the journey, although there are some things like that in this book as well. But it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I know everybody loves the Fitz in the full trilogy, but looking at the trilogy as a whole, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten a new respect for Tawny Man, because in my head now, I feel almost like Tawny Man's kind of almost more of the more appropriate canon ending, where this kind of feels like, they're doing in Hollywood right now, where they're taking all these old franchises and they decide, hey, we're going to have all those characters you like in it, but it's really going to be about this new character. It's kind of what I felt like this. I felt like this was very much about that new character. I don't want to say that character's name, because people get upset when I say that character's name. But I did feel like it was a little bit of let's kind of focus, passing of the torch, which is fine if that's what Miss Hobb wanted to do. But it definitely does feel like, if you're here for Fitz and the Fool and your Fitz and the Fool trilogy, they're there. They're there. I just feel like there could have been a lot more of it. So, it is kind of a mixed thing for me. And like I said, I do feel like I've got more respect now for Fool's Fate, and thinking that if you wanted the happy ending, I kind of think that was the happy ending in this one. Look, if you know anything about Robin Hobb, I don't necessarily think I was waiting for a happy ending per se, but there were some things about this that I didn't like, and there's a lot of things I did like. But I do think that, Fool's Assassin was my favorite of this trilogy, and I feel like it kind of stepped down each time, whereas I think that all three books are enjoyable. I enjoyed the trilogy more than I enjoyed the Tawny Man trilogy, but I do think there was some things that I wish had gone a different way, I think. And also, the hype that this book had, since I started, was it ever going to be possible to reach those expectations? Maybe not. And that might have played into it a little bit. But I don't want anybody thinking I was disappointed with it. Absolutely not. I just don't think it quite hit me as hard emotionally as some people who, I don't know, maybe had been living with these characters for, a decade plus, because they've been reading it that long. Whereas someone like me, it was almost 3 years to the day from when I started Assassin's Apprentice until I finished with Assassin's Fate. So overall, guys, yes, Realm of the Eldlings, top 10 fantasy series all time for me. No doubt. No doubt at all. But I do feel like Tawny Man might have been, but what I'm going to kind of keep is the warm, fuzzy, happy ending in my head. Because this one, I can get into it a little bit more. I'm sure Philip and I are going to talk about it when we get there. But there was things that I loved, guys. Absolutely, there are things that I loved about this book. There's just lots of things about this trilogy, rather, that I wish they'd gone a different way. But you know what? Life doesn't always go the way that you want. And I don't think that's really a knock against a book to say you wish it had gone a different way. It's just a personal feeling I feel like that I had about it. But definitely a journey worth taking, and I'm glad that I took it. And yeah, I am sad that it's over. It is really that sobering moment when you realize I don't have that next book. I'm going to go get the next book now. It's something I did with Wheel of Time, for a year plus, where I was like, I always had that feeling of, well, the next book, I can just always go get it. And now you have that realization that you cannot. Now, I know that she does plan to continue the series, but for me, she even has like a foreword at the beginning of this about it being the end. So for me, yeah, this is the end. This is the end. Am I saying I won't read anything else she writes in the realm? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this, to me, kind of like how I said I was going to kind of stop after book 5 of Stormlight. If it's originally supposed to be the ending, I'm going to treat it as the ending. And if you change your mind, I might come back to it. Who knows? I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But for me, I'm very, very happy that I did take this journey, and I would definitely recommend it to all of you. Another long journey I'm taking, guys, is Shogun. I did not finish part 2 yet. Chapter 25, it's about that far into it here. I think I'm going to 29. So, yeah, look, again, I can't really say that there's much different for me to say that I didn't say last week, just that because, I've watched the miniseries, so I know really the big moments that happen in the book. It's obviously better reading the book than it is just watching a miniseries because you're getting so much stuff from the Japanese point of view that you did not get in that miniseries. It was all just fish out of water Blackthorn in that miniseries. But with this, I feel like you're getting plenty about both. There are some things a couple times where I've been like, when they get into playing the politics, they could get very confusing sometimes. Because I'm not going to lie, guys, I didn't know a lot about Portuguese and Spain history. So that's some stuff that I'm kind of learning along the way. And I didn't think that would have so much to do in a book about Japan, but there's so much more going on than just the culture and the way of life in Japan, as opposed to, how other many people had their fingers in those pies, So I feel like it's doing a great job of that. I feel like I'm getting a lot of education, some world history while I read this. And that can be, sometimes feel sluggish. I've seen some people say there are some sloggy parts in parts 1 and 2. And again, I feel like, yeah, you're going to get some info dumps because this is history. There's stuff you've got to talk about. But I feel like I'm getting some really good stuff in here. But I'm very, very excited about where it's going. And it's one of those things I am happy that I'm breaking it up because I just feel like I would have lost some people that are on the read-along if I said, okay, we've read, almost 600 pages now. We've only got about 700 more to go, So I feel like that I've gotten good feedback on that people are appreciating that we are taking a break. And it's not to say that it isn't good. It's just saying that it's a lot, guys. It really is a lot. There's a lot of information to take in. But yeah, I really am enjoying everything about it. And early contender for Book of the Year, without a doubt. And I kind of knew that going into it. I did also start Voice of War by Zach Argyle. That is book number 1 in Threadlight. I got a notification that omnibus was supposed to show up here on Thursday. If you guys don't know, there's some big nuclear apocalyptic winter storm that's supposed to be heading our way. We had this freeze 2 years ago and people lost power. Now, every time it gets below 20 degrees, everybody freaks out thinking it's going to happen again. But tracking that book, I see that it's been sitting, at a warehouse here locally, right down the street since Thursday. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're just prepping for this storm that's supposedly coming or not. So it just didn't show up. So I decided to start reading it digitally. I like it a lot so far. It really has a hook at the end of the first chapter that really, really had me interested to keep going. So that's the way you do it. You get someone interested right away. I'm on chapter 7 right now. I've already got theories. I'm already flying all over the place. Madison's reading it with me right now. We're kind of texting back and forth about what we think is going on. And I don't know if it's just because I got Lycanius on the brain, but it's like some of the stuff I'm talking about, I'm like, this isn't Lycanius. Quit trying to treat it like Lycanius. And I don't know why, but I feel like there's a lot of Brandon Sanderson in there. There's a lot of Brent Weeks because the magic system does very much seem like a mix between Mistborn's Allomancy and then the color spectrum skill that he used in Lightbringer. I forget what it's actually called, but it's one of the greatest things. I rag on Brent Weeks a lot, but his magic system in Lightbringer was amazing. It really, really is. So it feels kind of like a mashup of those. But I also feel like your main character's got a little Logan Nine Fingers in him. And it wouldn't think that way because he is very much a family man. But you'll see what I mean when you start reading. It's kind of got like this, maybe there's this inner bloody nine trying to get out kind of thing. So it's very, very cool setup. I'm liking the world a lot. I know that people have warned me that there's of these 3 POV characters. There's one that's just going to be confusing to you. There's one that you're not going to like. I've only met 2 so far, and I like them both okay. They're very different, but I'm liking them both so far. But I'm interested. I'm very interested in continuing with the series. And it's one of those where I've said what I was going to do with series this year is I wasn't going to commit to doing the whole thing. I was going to commit to the first book because I feel like I set people up for disappointment. When I say, oh yeah, we're going to do this over, March, April, May. And then I read book 1, I don't like it, and I quit. So this year I said I'm only going to be doing book 1, and then I'll decide if I want to go on. So unless the end of this book or second half of this book really craps the bed, I'll be continuing with Threadlight for sure. And still can't wait to see that Omnibus Kickstarter edition here in my hand very, very soon. So guys, what am I going to read? Well, obviously, finish Shogun, finish Voice of War. That's probably what's going to be happening this week. I got All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. That's the only thing I'll have left for January, so I might have some extra time on my hands. If that happens, I'll just finally get back to doing The Toll by Neil Shusterman. That was the one that I still been kind of, just passing by. So if I end up with that extra time, I'll end up doing that. But as of right now, I do want Cormac McCarthy short. It's really short. It's short for a Cormac McCarthy book. And I figured that it shouldn't be too hard, but I also know, look, I'm flying through Threadlight. It's very easy to read. I know Cormac McCarthy, sometimes it's not easy to read, so I don't know necessarily I'll fly through that as fast, but I still got like 100 pages of Shogun to go. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see. How about this week on the channel, guys? Did a couple of things, putting the finishing touches, like I said, on 2023. Wrapped up the year, talked about everything that I did for the year, looked at the most popular content, some of my biggest surprises, biggest shocks, things like that. Looked at my most read authors, how many pages I read, all that fun stuff when you close down the year. I think something that was really fun is obviously going back and looking at each one of my books of the month, which I do put a quick little 45-second sizzle reel, I guess you'll call, of all of my book of the month announcements. And kind of looking at those and seeing which ones ended up on my top 10 for the year. And it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to go back and look at all that. I do like a good wrap-up, especially when you get to look at the whole year there. But I also took that compilation I did, and I actually, when I first did that edit, it was like 8 minutes long. I was like, I don't want to put an 8-minute clip in the middle of a new video. So I just isolated that, got it down to like 45 seconds. And then I took that one where I talk a little bit more about each book of the month and just did a quick little short video, just a book of the month compilation for 2023. It's always fun to go back and look at. And anybody, maybe who joined the channel a little later, they're still looking for something to read. There's obviously lots of books there that I would recommend. And then, of course, my book haul for December of 2023. Never gets old to me saying thank you to you guys for the wonderful things that you do send to me and getting to talk to you about all those new series I haven't read yet and shine a spotlight on some of those independent authors. That's always a lot of fun for me to do. And again, I am blessed and so thankful for you guys for continuing to show your generosity and send me things. It's very, very kind of you, and I do appreciate it. How about some next week plans? I kind of hinted at it last week that I was flirting with an idea of doing my top 10 science fiction books of all time. As I said, I haven't read enough series, but I have read enough books of sci-fi to do that list. I think that's going to happen next year. I'm going to do my top 10 science fiction reads of all time. Should be a fun list. I feel like it's going to be a very good mix of old and new. So there's going to be a little bit of something for everyone there. And I know it's just going to get a lot of, hey, what about this one? I haven't read it yet. And I'm going to make sure that I get that across at the beginning of this video, telling you guys, I know I haven't read as much sci-fi as everybody else, but since everyone keeps asking for this video, I'm going to make it. And I think I might either try to do one of two videos. I have finished ℓ𝕧𝕚𝕚 of One Piece, so I might be doing a review for that arc, or because I feel like that might take a little more time, or I might be doing, my favorite series that are still ongoing. One of those, something like that. I'm going to do one of those videos this week along with the top 10 science fiction books of all time. Should be fun because I'm going to be taking my hiatus on One Piece now until I wait for Dr. Philip Chase to catch up so we can start talking about those here pretty soon. I don't want to get too far ahead of them so we can actually talk about it, because we have been texting, back and forth about Realm of the Elderlings. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to do that soon with him on One Piece when he does catch up with me. But that's really, guys, that's all I've got for the books this week. Got a couple of TV and movie talk things to talk about before I go. They released a trailer for The Three Body Problem on Netflix. Now, that is a very popular sci-fi series that, I'm not going to lie, did not click for me. I do not DNF stuff very often, but I'd say I was about 60% in Three Body Problem, and I just put it down and said, this is clearly not for me. I'm a character reader, and that's very much a book about ideas. And I'm not saying the ideas were wrong or bad. I'm saying it wasn't clicking with me. And pretty much everyone said, yeah, if you're not liking it at that point, you're probably not going to like it. So I took everyone's advice on that. But the trailer looks pretty interesting. Look, this is going to convince nobody. This is going to fall completely on deaf ears because people still have such nuclear reactions when we talk about Dan and Dave that did Game of Thrones. Because they're the ones doing this show. And I was like, well, that's just a warning sign for me not to watch it. And I try to remind them, guys, Dan and Dave are very, very good at literal adaptation. When they have source material, they're very good at adapting that. What went off the reservation is when they ran out of source material and they burned that bridge with George R.R. Martin and they tried to write on their own. And that's not their forte. Their forte is literal adaptation. And to me, like I said, I DNF this book, so I don't feel like they could do the show much worse for me. So I think it looks cool, and I think that it could probably be pretty good. But again, I know that no one's gonna care. They're still so mad about the last season of Game of Thrones that those two attached to anything is just absolute poison. I understand that, and I understand that some people would just say they've been hurt too bad. I get it, but I think if you like these books, I think the series, I bet it'll probably be pretty good. If you did like the books, because again, you got to remember, guys, those first 5-6 years of Game of Thrones when they had source material, really good. So they're really, really good at doing that. So I don't think that's a reason to say you're not going to watch it. But hey, I'm not your papa. I can't tell you what to do. But I think the trailer looks pretty cool. And I say check it out for yourself. Wife and I continued season 2 of The Sopranos. We continued into season 2 of The Sopranos. So yes, you can say that she's liking it because we blew through season 1, which by the way is like one of the most perfect seasons of television I've ever seen. And season 2 just ups the ante a little bit. The thing you got to be careful with when it comes to The Sopranos is all the good food on the show will make you have falling back into some bad eating habits. So we've got an Italian feast planned for the day before the football game starts. It's kind of funny. But the show is it's awesome. And I'm just glad, like I said, The Sopranos sometimes can seem like it's kind of a guy thing, and I'm glad that my wife's liking it so much. We're getting ready in the morning, and my wife's not a morning person. She doesn't really talk very much in the morning. And she's just theories about The Sopranos. So I'm excited. I'm so happy that she's enjoying it. And yeah, guys, it's aged wonderfully. It still looks beautiful. And I can't say, I don't feel like there's anything I can tell you that you haven't already heard about The Sopranos. I feel like if you're over the age of 30 at least, you've seen The Sopranos and you love it. But who knows? Who knows? There are still some people like my wife who haven't ever seen it. So I've already had to give her the speech about do not Google anything, because I still want her to have those surprises, but we are enjoying that. For me, guys, look, it's just going to be all about the NFL playoffs here. Obviously, the Texans have a playoff game today, and that's exciting. We haven't seen that since 2019 here, so that's very, very exciting. Just to get to the dance is fun, but for me, it's just I love watching NFL football, and I watch the playoffs every year, so it's going to kind of be a holiday for me here the next several weeks, and I'm excited to do it. But that's really all I got planned going on for the rest of the weekend. So guys, what are you up to? Are you reading Shogun with me? I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. If you finished *Realm of the Eldlings, what do you think? Why don't you drop in the comments, guys? Let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing. I will talk to you there.